It's Christmas time and an unsuspecting shopper is a sitting target for a not-so-smooth pickpocketer and his accomplice. But today's hero proves she's slicker than her muggers when she steals her belongings right back from them. Tis the season to be jolly in the leafy suburb of Sunninghill, Johannesburg. And today's hero had her Christmas cheer and spirit on.
I'm Alma. I'm a digital marketing specialist. I work in marketing for a big company. In my spare time, I really love gardening. I have a nice garden and I like to tend to my flowers and to grow all sorts of plants. I live in Sunninghill in the Greater Sandton area with my younger sister. We share a flat.
Yeah, my name is Anita. My sister is 6 years older than me. We've got the same friend groups, we go to the same church and the same Bible study and do a lot of things together, and we're also very close with my parents who stay in Centurion, and we'll go visit them every other weekend maybe. So we do a lot of things together and we're very close.
We are 3 sisters. I'm the eldest sister and I take my role as an eldest sister very seriously. I like to care for my younger sisters and for my family.
My sister is very motherly and really takes on that older sister role. She always, when I go out, she'll ask me to let her know where I'm going, to share my Uber trip ride with her. If it gets late, she'll WhatsApp me and check that I'm still okay.
I think I'm probably a bit of a mother hen for them, but as an older sister, I like to think that I'm caring. I like to just be aware of what's going on in the lives of my siblings and my family, and I like to keep them safe.
My sister is definitely a very feisty person. I want to use an example of when we stayed at another complex, and it was late at night and people were making a noise, and she went to knock at their door, and a man opened the door and he was a bit intoxicated, and he asked her, take me to your man. Now, I want to speak to your man. And in true Alma fashion, she said, yes, I'll take you. And then they just continued walking for about 100 meters. And then he realized she's just walking towards the gate. She's not taking me to her man. And he turned around and went home, and he was very angry. That's not something I would have done. I would have just, left when somebody asked me that. So that's definitely a feisty thing.
And to be fair, the feisty sister was just minding her business that day.
So on the day of the infamous, or the now almost famous cell phone incident, it was just a normal working day. I can't remember what day of the week it was, but I know it was in the run-up to Christmas. I think it was about 3 weeks to Christmas, and that kind of holiday vibe that you start to get at the end of the year.
So at that time, it was in the first half of December, and we were kind of making plans about going to decorate the house for Christmas and buying Christmas food. So we were really, I would say, jolly in that time leading up to the incident.
Yeah, on that day, I stopped at the shop just to pick up a few items, and then I just walked past the party store, and I thought, let me go in and check what kind of decorations and Christmas stuff they have. It's the type of shop where you can just browse. You can almost kind of lose yourself. You can, after a while, you've been in there for an hour and you didn't even realize it. I think the last thing on my mind that day was crime. As I was standing with my back to the entrance of the shop, or to the door of the shop in the aisle, I noticed in the corner of my eye that some people had entered the store and that they were going to come and browse in the same aisle as I was.
A couple also doing their shopping. Nothing wrong, right? Wrong.
I was born in 1982 and ndikhulele rough location where you see things okanye ubona amahlotmanzi driving motors nice, egqoke expensive clothes, not knowing ukuthi bayenza kanjani and everything. Ngikhule ngastart crime ngingena kwama high school. I ended up being caught and then sentenced to 30 years. The reason why ngifuna uhide ukuthi ngingubani is because of angiyazi ukuthi ngizobonwa ngubani athi nangu lo muntu wathatha imoto yami. Not that I'm scared of uphinda ngiyozimela lezi zinto. Right now nginomndeni. I don't want to go back and live the life yokuphiyelwa njengesilwane.
And our brother, let's call him Sam, has chosen to use his insider knowledge to help you at home know how to spot a crime before it happens.
A pickpocketer, you can't say ukuthi hayi ngimbonile ukuthi efuna untshontshela unless usafundiswa. Abona ku-shoplifting, pickpocketing, best ngabantu abangomama. Angekho umcamangela ukuthi lo muntu uzontshontsha ifoni yakho okanye uzontshontsha iwallet yakho. I think all over the country they use the same. Partner yakho, out distract, and then when uyathatha, you move out. Why your partner yakho isabakhulumisa abadistractor, you're gone.
Then they moved quite close behind me, and which I felt in the back of my head was strange because the aisle was wide enough for them to pass without touching me or without coming too close to me. And then they kind of lingered almost behind me, and they were really quite close to me, and it didn't bother me, but it did feel a little bit strange, that they weren't moving on towards the rest of the shop. And then I slowly started to become slightly annoyed because these people are in my space. Like, why aren't I moved forward for them to go past? Like, why aren't they going? Like, why aren't they moving on to do their shopping?
And the Vela, something is fishy. But luckily, Alma's the type to smell things a mile away. When we come back, Alma robs the robber. But what she does next is a risky move. Alma is out and about getting Christmas decorations and presents. A nice-looking couple also seems to be doing the same in the shop, but they've got an eye on what's in her bag. Pickpocketing is considered a petty crime, and you might think it's a crime of opportunity, but in fact, professional pickpocketers are part of a proper syndicate with carefully planned grocery lists. Melissa Castlemaine is a criminologist with a passion about justice. With experience in threat assessment and management, she keeps a keen eye on those who cross the other side of the law.
My name is Melissa Castlemaine, and I'm a criminologist. I work in both the public and private sectors in the country. I offer specialized consulting and criminal justice services. The work of a criminologist would range from crime detection, crime investigation, and crime prevention. During the festive season, we see an increase in crime, especially petty crime in affluent areas. The reason for this is because there's more disposable income and people tend to spend their time in the shops doing their Christmas shopping. People also tend to carry cash on hand with them during this time. The typical areas where pickpocketing would occur is in the malls, as we saw in the video, but also at garage convenience stores, sporting events, or ATMs. Pickpocketing is considered a petty crime by many people, especially given the high crime rates in the country and that serious and violent crimes dominate the media. A lot of people would consider petty crime being the work of an amateur criminal and not necessarily of an organized syndicate.
Mari, la bantshontshayo, they're making a living out of it. Bakhulisa abantwana, babuild izindlu, babhatala ama-accounts ngontshontsha.
The reason these perpetrators can so easily get away with their crimes is because they fit very well into their surroundings. We tend to see that they are well dressed and well groomed, and they don't seem out of place or out of character. In the video, we could see a couple, and it seemed as if they were doing their Christmas shopping the same as Alma was.
The two people who came into the shop looked exactly like any other person in my neighborhood. The lady was well-groomed, she had nice hair, she had nice nails, they looked like completely normal people. And that's why my first instinct was to politely move out of the way for them to get past me and to continue their shopping, because they were coming into the shop to also do some Christmas shopping.
There are a few reasons that Alma could have been targeted that day. In the video footage, we can see Alma looking at the items on a shelf. She has her handbag zipped open and on her side. Two individuals walk by. They do see the opportunity to take the items out of her open bag. These syndicates tend to commit their crimes in shops that are crowded with high shelving and narrow walkways. The reason for this is that there is low visibility from the high shelving, so that people in other aisles do not know what's happening in the aisle that they're in.
Abomama abangama-victim kakhulu because baphatha amabheg, aphinde uthatha istaff from the aisles iningi lento ayenzayo ngesikhathi esiyi-1. From what I saw from the video, ibhegi yakhe lo sisi i-expensive. Angeke uphathe ibhegi e-expensive ingenamali phakathi or ingenanto i-valuable unokwazi uyithengisa uthole something.
So I had been in the party shop probably for about 15 minutes at that point. I had gone through a few of the aisles and I was standing specifically looking at a shelf full of Christmassy stuff. And then I felt a kind of almost a tugging on my handbag. My handbag was over my left shoulder. I turned around to see why these people were in my space, or this man. And as I looked back, as I looked at this man, I saw him standing with a phone in his hand, and then it took me a split second to realize that that's my phone. It took me another second to just become so annoyed with this guy, because then the penny dropped that the tugging I had felt was him sticking his hand into my bag and like brazenly taking out my cell phone and then standing there with it in the shop.
The first individual notices that her bag is open and he's able to take a cell phone out of it. He attempts to hand it to the handler. In most incidents of this nature, the phone would be given to the handler, who's the individual responsible for collecting all of the stolen items on the day and returning it to the getaway vehicle.
He didn't like go away immediately. He and his little friend just stood there. I'm not sure if they wanted to try to like get more stuff out of my handbag, but the next moment I realized that this guy has my phone, and then I grabbed my phone back from him. I was just so annoyed.
While this may seem daring to a lot of people, studies have shown that during personal robberies, when victims are aware of what is being done to them, they're more likely to show hostility towards a perpetrator.
As I took the phone back, they started moving out of the shop, and I realized that I have my phone, I can take a video. I can actually get this guy's face, or I can get the guy and the lady's face who took my phone. And I quickly got my camera up going, and at that point you kind of, the adrenaline is going a little bit, so I got my camera app open and I started filming.
What is wrong with you? Are you a flipping thief? What even? No, it doesn't work like that. You don't do that. Get out of here.
And then I started following them out of the shop, and I really just gave them a piece of my mind. And then as I got out of the shop, the getaway car was sitting in a parking space immediately in front of the Checkers, and there was a third guy in the car. Then the third guy got out of the car, and he actually had quite an antagonistic demeanor about him.
He tried to steal my phone. He literally took my phone out of my handbag. What is this even? No, I've got your number.
And at that point the video cuts out, because then I realized, okay, but I'm literally now in the presence of 3 criminals.
Lo sisi the biggest mistake ayenzile first. Kuthini ufuna uyi-attenda ngokwakhe le situation. That's the biggest mistake. Remember, criminals, they don't live by the rules. Ama-pickpocketers, they don't go to town, no pickpocketer, bengenayo iweapon, yozikhusela maye. Efuneka balekile, ezisusile kule ndawo. Akafuna uboshwa, akafuna ushaya.
While Alma's behavior in snatching her phone back during the incident is not that out of the ordinary, her behavior in following the perpetrators into the parking lot and filming them using her phone definitely put her in a potentially dangerous situation. Although we have the knowledge that most of these syndicates don't carry weapons when they're committing their crime, we never really know what they have in their getaway vehicles, as well as what levels of violence they're willing to display when they feel that they're under threat. Although in this incident, the perpetrators were quite placid in their reaction towards Alma, they could have been much more violent, given that their risk of exposure and being caught was heightened.
At that point I realized, okay, but I'm a woman alone here now, maybe this is not so safe anymore. And at that point I put the video off, and then I actually started realizing how rattled I was, and then I went back into the shop, and then the 3 thieves then left.
These criminal groups or criminal syndicates follow a more organized or professional modus operandi. We find that in these groups, there are different individuals serving different functions. So, for example, in the video that we saw, we have one individual who is doing the stealing or the taking of the mobile phone. The second individual is considered a handler. And the third individual is at the end of the video, he's considered a getaway driver, and he's not involved in the perpetration of the crime.
It was quite an impulsive, thing to start filming criminals, and in retrospect, I did realize that it probably was quite a risky thing to do. And then as the situation was going on, my incredulence changed firstly into annoyance, and then thirdly into anger.
And I feel that anger together with you, yes, Alma. The nerve of pickpocketers. When we come back, did Alma get the failed perps to face the music of the law? Alma McGill was a near victim of pickpocketing while doing her festive season shopping. But as the criminals took her phone, she snatched it right back and followed the perps to the parking lot, making her displeasure known.
No one saw this. They only really realized after the incident when I came back into the shop. I went to the shop owner and I said, there was just a robbery. I was just almost pickpocketed in your shop. And yeah, we went to the back of the shop, and then we actually saw the footage. After that, I came home and I showed my sister the two clips. I had literally recorded the CCTV TV with my phone.
By the time my sister arrived home, a lot of the shock and anger and annoyance had subsided a bit. When I was watching her confront the people, I was a bit scared for her because I don't think that's something that I would have done, and you don't know, if the people you are confronting are dangerous or not. I told her, well, you've got good footage here, you've got their faces and their number plate on camera. You can go to the police with this and, at least post it on social media.
With her clear thinking and gathering of evidence, surely Alma opened and shut this case herself.
So the next day, I did go to the Sandton police station to report that this crime happened. And I didn't hear from the police for quite some time, but then I did, amazingly enough, get a call back from them a few weeks later. And then they told me that the car that the thieves had been using was stolen. And then it ended there. I mean, they couldn't do anything else.
Pickpocketers are not stupid. They will never take a stolen vehicle, bangene ngayo etown bayontshontshelwa abantu. What they do, batshintsha iplate, bathathe iplate yemoto efana nale. Mayihamba le moto ikhwazwa la esitratweni isithini, bazothi bona intshontshiwe ke ngoku mabekhuluma. Pickpocketers, they always cover ama-tracks abo, yonke into yabo bafuna ibe clean, ibe straight.
And these syndicates tend to make very deliberate decisions when formulating their modus operandi. So for example, they wouldn't carry weapons as it's not considered a violent form of crime that they're perpetrating. They would opt to rather use hired vehicles as opposed to stolen vehicles and instead falsify number plates. The reason for this is so that should they be caught, the sentence that would be imposed would be of a less serious nature, considering that they do not have any weapons, no violent crime was committed, and they're not in possession of large stolen assets.
My sister suggested that we post this on social media, to create awareness and also to get the faces of the criminals out there. So a cool reaction from the people on Twitter was that they say, "Oh, I stan you, lady, I stan you because you did this thing." That felt quite nice because it's actually that people see that you did something that's a little bit out of the ordinary. So it was just nice to get that recognition as well.
When the video ended up trending on Twitter, or it got like hundreds of thousands of views, we really appreciated all of the support from the online community.
The biggest change for me was really just the behavioral change, where I'm much more aware of my surroundings when I go out in the, into the shops or into the mall or into the street in general. I don't know if this is something that other South Africans do, but I have the 360 South African observation that I do whenever I stop at a robot at any intersection, day or night. I'm just so aware of every single person, and in retrospect, I do realize that it could have been an unsafe situation, and that's why I also stopped, recording after a while. But I'm glad that I did it because it created awareness, and it shows that the criminals can sometimes come second.
And you should be proud, Alma. Like a certain Uncle Anton would say, you don't take nonsense from anyone.
I think my sister is a hero. I think she, just her involvement in our community. She's a natural leader. She's she's a big sister figure to me and in our family. She's almost, I'd say, the cornerstone of our family, the rock that we all lean on. She's definitely a hero.
Kule case kasisi uriskile too much, but iriski yakhe emsaving. Sometimes you don't show fear.
So I would say that this is part of my personality, not to confront people, like that in public. I mean, this was a unique situation with thieves, but I do try to do a bit extra in life, and I do try to do a bit for my community. And I think as the eldest sibling as well, I feel kind of that I have that protector role.
Talk about a hero who doesn't wear a cape. Alma McGill is that. 1 woman, 3 criminals, handled in less than 4 seconds. That's got to be a record. Alma learned it the hard way, but you at home don't have to. While you're out there in the malls and shopping centers, be on the lookout for opportunists who have their eye on you. Sis Melissa, tell us how.
Pickpocketing or petty crime is seen as an insignificant crime by many people, and this is because it's non-violent and less valuable assets are usually stolen. However, it's still really important to report it to the police for 2 reasons. Firstly, we are dealing with organized criminal syndicates, and it's important for a detective in the police to have those case numbers in order to build a significant criminal case against them, which would stand up in a court of law. Secondly, reported cases are reflected in official statistics, and these official statistics are used when allocating resources, such as visible policing, to areas known as hotspots. Remember to remain vigilant when you are attending these places, not only for when people pass by very closely to you, but there could also be individuals who follow you from one shop to the next. Try not to carry large amounts of money with you. Avoid shopping centers during peak hours. That would be during lunch, after work, and on weekends. And if possible, go to the shops with someone else.
Thank you, Melissa. And maybe I have one more to add to that. Don't allow yourself to be distracted by strangers. It might be a diversion. At this stage, I could be an expert on Vimba myself. And Kaizini, if you're going to bring a gun to a robbery, make sure your victim doesn't have a whip.